with rich cream for an indulgent escape. A shake so delicious, you just can't put it down. Packing 21 grams of protein in every scoop. Say hello to banana cream from Quest Nutrition. For 7 delicious reasons to love your protein powder, visit questnutrition.com. The classic taste of a freshly peeled banana, paired with rich cream for an indulgent escape. A shake so delicious, you just can't put it down. Packing 21 grams of protein in every scoop. Say hello to banana cream from Quest Nutrition. For
SciTech Nutrition. Premium quality products. State-of-the-art look. Uncompromised ingredient quality. Our products work and taste good. www.scitechnutrition.com.
This is 4-time Miss Olympia Jay Cutler. You're watching RXMuscle.com.
He wasn't, the bodybuilding and fitness icon that he is today. He had just started with the first gym that he opened up. So I remember he picked me up from the airport. You know what I mean? And he had this bodybuilding show called the Oxygen, his own gym, Oxygen, his own bodybuilding show that he has usually once a year. And I came here to guest post, and he treated me like I've never been treated before. And coming off this bad experience I had in Bahrain, that he basically made up for everything that I thought bad about not only Bahrain, but maybe, the bad vibe I had about, doing business with Arabs. He totally cleaned that out for me, so.
And as a result of that, you've created this 9-year relationship. What's that relationship been like? Yeah, I mean, it started off like I said, he built this gym, and I was impressed because I was already a pro, and Ronnie was here before me for a couple of days, but when he brought me out here and he showed me what he had, and I realized how many people are interested in gyms over here, then the first thing for me was important to get to know who is Boodai. What does he do? You know what I mean? So he was basically somebody that just started a dream about doing something different. I didn't know what he was doing before at that time. I just saw the gym, and then I saw somebody that had a dream and started something brand new. And over this 9 years, I saw how this man developed to go from somebody that just opened the gym from money that he had from a previous business to somebody that dominates the fitness industry, not only in Kuwait, but in the whole Middle East, which is very hard to do because there's a lot of people with money. It's not all about money. You got to have the brain. You got to have the time to develop your brain to switch from a restaurant or a sport car garage to a fitness industry. You have to educate yourself about eating clean, about equipment, because, this industry doesn't sleep. So not only was he a busy man doing the business he was doing, he also took the time to educate himself, to learn about new equipment, to learn about new diets, He had no experience. Right. You know what I mean? So we had a bond right away. He basically hired me in the beginning to come here and just be in the gym, train, and be there for the Kuwait members, the Kuwaiti members in his gym. Everything he did, is only for his members, which you don't see. You don't see business people think this is a business and I want to make money. Of course, he wants to make money, but he wants every member in his gym to be happy. And therefore, he started bringing bodybuilders over. He wanted something different. Not only, there's a lot of gyms with, good equipment, with all kind of stores and stuff in it. But he's taking it to the next level by bringing pro bodybuilders that all these guys look up to in the magazines. So now all of a sudden, this person brings these guys here for these guys up and close to touch them, take pictures with them, talk to them, and this is what
catapult him to the next level. And he never stopped. He kept going and kept going, and I watched this man grow. And I watched this man go from a point where he would never know what to eat as a bodybuilder to basically prepare an athlete, know that their money is well spent, you know, and I can vouch for that any day.
What has his influence as a person, as an entrepreneur, been on you, and your experiences as a professional bodybuilder? What experience, or rather, what influence have you had on him?
I think, the influence that Boodai had on me is to always believe there's a chance to take it one step further. You know what I mean? Don't sleep, because the competition will never sleep on you either. If you think you're happy, if you're satisfied, somebody can move up and go right past you. So he's trying to take it to the next level. He could have stopped by bringing me over, but he didn't. So he started bringing Dennis. We started bringing Johnny. We brought everybody. He had Phil Heath. He had Kai Green. You name him, they were here. And he's not stopping. He could stop right now and say, I had everybody, but he continuously brings these people over because he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for his members. The members don't pay anything. He does seminars. He had Flex Sweet there for a seminar. These guys don't pay anything. He does that for free. So he's putting money out. It's not that he's just thinking, you know, oh, like I'm do a seminar and let these guys pay for it. No, he pays. I've seen this guy put money out for people, and he supports bodybuilding. There was no Kuwait Bodybuilding Federation at that time. There was no IFBB. All this happened in his reign. He made all this happen, and it's all coming out of his pocket, basically. You know what I mean? And now, like I said, Kuwait bodybuilding is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Some of the best athletes in the Middle East and even in the world.
Welcome inside the RXMuscle studios in New York for a special episode of Iron Debate here on RXMuscle.com, brought to you by SciTech Nutrition and Quest Nutrition. Visit SciTechNutrition.com and QuestNutrition.com. I'm your host, Siddique Farooqi. Glad you can join us wherever you may be in North America or in the Middle East world. And if you're in the Middle East, kifahalik. We are joined in studio by Dave Palumbo. Before we introduce Dave, we are going to introduce the guest of the night, sitting on, I believe, his yacht. You just saw the 5-minute video introduction. Dennis James really doing a glowing job talking about the man that we are about to introduce for tonight's show. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring in from Kuwait, Boodai. Badr, how you doing tonight?
Hi.
Badr, tell us a little bit more about where you are right now.
I'm just have fun and chilling in my yacht in the weekend with my camel crew, you know, to introduce my camel crew. Just have fun on weekends, you know.
Absolutely, shots fired. Badr, before we introduce the rest of the panel, we just played a 5-minute video of Dennis James talking about you and talking in glowing praise about who you are, about what you've been able to achieve in Kuwait, in the Middle East, as far as the bodybuilding scene is concerned. What are your thoughts on what Dennis James had to say about you in that video?
It's great. This is I don't know what the truth, what he said last week or this week. It's 7 days between the both, and I want to know an interview which is the lie and which is the truth. I am asking Dennis now, and I'm asking the people who's watching this interview, because what he said last week is the truly opposite of what he said in the video.
To discuss with Badr Boodai here on Iron Debate this evening, but before we do that, we proceed introducing the rest of our panel, and we first go to Portland, Maine, the man they call the technician. We bring in Chris Aceto. Chris, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Sid. How are you doing? Hey, Badr. Hey, John, Johnny, Dave, the whole crew.
Hi.
Absolutely. And, of course, sitting in Guadalajara, Mexico, and he took his sunglasses off. He was wearing these cool shades. Johnny, you want to put the shades back on? The audience needs to see this. The man they call Boss Number 2, and with those shades, you can see why, John Romano. John, how you doing tonight?
What's happening, everybody? I'm doing good. How is everyone?
We got the shorts in the background for boxing fans, Marco Antonio Barrera. John, you work with Marco Antonio Barrera, correct?
I did, yes, sir.
Really one of the great Mexican champions. And in studio here in the RX Muscle Studios in New York, we introduce Dave Palumbo. Dave, this has been a topic of controversy throughout the bodybuilding world, and that is the iron debate that we had with Dennis James last week, and a lot came out of it regarding Big Ramy, regarding Boodai, our guest for this evening, and of course, the entire circle of management that Big Ramy has. So you, as a journalist, wanted to make sure that we had Boodai on to give his side on tonight's Iron Debate.
Yeah, I think as a journalist, it's important that you hear both sides. I am friends with Dennis James. I've known Dennis a very long time. I know Dennis, contacted me about the show, and I think, he wasn't happy that necessarily that we were going to get Bader on, but I thought it was important. I explained to him as a journalist, I have it's my responsibility to hear both sides. And then if they want to have a discussion next week on next week's Iron Debate, I'm all for it. But I think it's important that we hear from Bader what's going on. He's done a lot in the Middle East, and I want to know, and I'm sure all those fans out there watching the show want to know what the relationship is between Bader, Big Ramy, and all the other guys who are involved in this discussion, so to speak.
If you want to get involved in this conversation and you're not already a member, go right now to RXMuscle.com and check in the Muscle Central Forum. If you're not already a member, it is free to register. RXMuscle.com, the Muscle Central Forum. You can follow us on our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and our Instagram page as well. And if you have any questions or you want to join in on the debate, you can also chime in on the live chat box on the side or below where you're watching this show. And with that, we are going to get to our first topic of conversation. Badr, we're going to start with you on this one, and that is about Middle Eastern bodybuilders. We talked about your role in really cultivating a culture of bodybuilding in the Middle East, and now you look at some of the fruits of that labor, and obviously we're talking back in the golden era with Samir Bannout, his cousin Mo Bannout now, of course, the late Baido Abbaspour of Iran, Abdelaziz Jalali, Sami Al-Haddad, Isa Obeid, the list goes on and on and on. But the question for you, are Middle Eastern bodybuilders in a sense overlooked, and are they underrated?
Yeah, I'm in the beginning I went for my bad English for the people who's watching this interview. About the bodybuilding in the Middle East, I think we have all the potential now to compare with the world bodybuilding. I mean, to introduce Middle East more than before. I hope I can help the best people to compete there in the Middle East. And you name about 5 names from the Middle East now, and they compete against the best of the best in the world.
Father, do you think, as far as perception goes, as far as how the rest of the United States and the rest of the world, what do you think right now the reputation is of Middle Eastern bodybuilders?
It's hard to discuss the reputation, but I think now we have 3 guys who can make a good result in the big competition. You're watching Isa getting in top 10 this year. Ramy is one of the guys who can win Mr. Olympia. And, it's before 10 years, you don't have anybody from Middle East in this competition except Nasser Al-Sambati. And Nasser didn't live in Middle East, Usually what we talk about is the people come from Middle East to compete there.
Father, we're going to ask you a question that many of our fans, many of your fans, many bodybuilding fans around the rest of the world have been asking us ever since we announced that you're going to be on tonight's show, and that is, how did you come about meeting Big Ramy? Now, for those who may be unaware, Big Ramy has only been in bodybuilding now for the better part of 5 years. Previous to that, he was a fisherman in Egypt. Then he moves to Kuwait. Tell us the story. Tell the audience the story about Big Ramy and how he went from a fisherman to a bodybuilder, and how your relationship with him began, and what you saw out of him in the beginning.
You know, he applied one of them, my gym, and I didn't even interview him. The manager of the gym interviewed him, and that time we was lagging in the trainer, and we accept him to be a trainer in the gym. And I didn't even know his work in my gym. And after 2 months, almost my driver, and it's told me he's Egyptian also, working with me maybe 15 years, and I am usually joking with him about the lifestyle with him, and he chilling with me. He's same my younger brother, and he told me about Ramy. I have some guy who can do well in competition. I just laugh because he told me about the guy, and he told me, please just see him one time. And I tell, okay, just, you know, I don't trust it, but you know, because what he say about Ramy, I tell him, let me see him one time. And when I saw Ramy one time to review him in my gym, and I gave him some suggestion, and I tell him, you go and come after 1 month. And after 1 month, I just came. I forget. I came to my gym, and he was waiting for me. And I asked him what the problem. I forget even. I tell him about the rule, what he do and what he can eat and to train. And he showed me his body in that time, and I shocked. What this guy do in 1 month, and usually after and this time. Within 3 months, I have my competition, and it's very tough competition, you know. It's world-class competition. And I tell him to join this competition, and he win the overall from 3 months.
That's have you ever seen any situation like this before, where somebody comes from out of nowhere, does not have previous bodybuilding experience, and then in such a short period of time, you see him become a legitimate world-class Mr. Olympia contender? Have you ever seen something like this before?
No, I didn't. You know that I didn't believe what he achieved in this 3 months. And you know, after 1 year of this, he compete next time in Qatar Cup. It's one of the best competition in the region, and it's the toughest. And he win from first time and just blow the stage.
An amazing story. Let's bring in the other panelists. Chris Aceto, we're going to start with you. And the topic is Middle Eastern bodybuilders. And of course, we rattled off some of the more notable names over the course of history, and then of course the ones recent as well. In your opinion, you've been there. Do you think Middle Eastern bodybuilders, in a sense, are overlooked and underrated?
Well, I think they're overlooked and underrated and underappreciated. You can go back to Eduardo Kawak or Eduardo Kawak. He was a phenomenal bodybuilder, and probably the Aaron Baker of the Middle East, meaning the most underrated bodybuilder was, Dave, help me out. His name was Mohammed
Makawe.
No, not Mohammed Makawi, who was tremendous. He was second place. He was not overrated. Just recently, he used to work with Milo sometimes. Gargantuan legs.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he retired.
Yeah, what is it? He was from Lebanon, and he was Arab champion for several times. And he was in the Olympia a few times, and you know he did multiple pro shows, and maybe he didn't come in with the hardness that he needed to come in at, but he was incredible. First time I was in the Middle East was with Samir Bannout in 1991. When places like Qatar and Bahrain were tiny little fishing villages. Underdeveloped is an understatement compared to what these places look like now. In every little gym we went to, I would find little 16-year-old and 19-year-old kids, and I swear, I would say, this guy could be a professional bodybuilder. That was 1991. Meaning, everything was there, full pecs, fairly developed legs, great shoulders, phenomenal midsection, wide back, full muscle bellies. I mean, they were a dime a dozen. That was 91.
John, let's go over to you on this one. As far as Middle Eastern bodybuilders, do you see them as underrated and at times overlooked?
That's a tough question to answer when you've got, a prior Mr. Olympia who was a Middle Eastern bodybuilder. You had several that have been up there. You can think of, we go all the way back to Muhammad Makawe. Nasser El Sambate was, second in the Olympia. Samir Bannout, Mr. Olympia. You can't all win, but I mean, that question to me is only relative to how many Middle Eastern bodybuilders are actually competing. Guys ask me that about Mexican bodybuilders, down here in Mexico. Are they underrated? And I would say absolutely, definitely they're underrated, because you never see them anywhere in the top row of the Mr. Olympia. And there certainly are guys down here that are of that caliber that certainly could be. So I think foreigners in general in the IFBB are not as looked at as the American counterparts, because they're generally not as accessible. Many of them don't speak English. They live too far away. They have a lot of issues that keep them from being marketable and usable to the companies and to the magazines and websites, et cetera, that are going to want to take advantage of their celebrity. So I think it's a combination of how available and accessible they are and how good they are. There's no question that Middle Eastern bodybuilders have been phenomenal, and their past records have proven it. So I don't know exactly how many there are in relation to a percentage that could say that, this guy was overlooked because he's from the Middle East. I don't know. I mean, you got a Middle Eastern Mr. Olympia. I don't know how much more you can ask.
Let's go in studio here at the RXMuscle Studios. Check in with Dave Palumbo. The final word on this topic again. Middle Eastern bodybuilders, are they overlooked and underrated?
I think here's the real answer that people are not acknowledging, or maybe haven't realized. In the Arab world, the World Amateur Bodybuilding Championships, the former Mr. Universe, is the biggest event. And many Middle Eastern bodybuilders will do that show year and year again. So you might win it, and instead of taking your pro card and going pro, they'll do it again the following year, because the countries, it's almost like the Olympics for them. A lot of the Middle Eastern countries send a very strong team to the World Championships. They try to win their class, and a lot of the countries will finance and give monetary rewards to their athletes who do win their class at the World Championships. It's very prestigious for them. Whereas in the United States, we don't give a crap about bodybuilding. We're into football and baseball and those kind, and basketball. So to them, that's their Olympics. So mostly, at least in the last probably 20 years, most guys who were the best bodybuilders in the Middle East never turned pro. They never accepted their pro card. They kept competing as amateur for year after year after year. Samuel Haddad was that way for a while, and there's been many other champions. I think Boodai gave the athlete the chance to turn pro and give them a financial means to support themselves while they were pros. And I think that's why you're seeing more pro bodybuilders coming out of Kuwait as opposed to countries like Egypt and other Middle Eastern countries. And I think, he should be applauded for that.
Bada, let's bring you back in on this conversation. Again, Dave just made the point regarding the incentive for a lot of these bodybuilders to remain as an amateur. Now, you are helping some of these athletes become pro, helping sponsor them. Tell us a little bit more about that. And is that a direction that you think more suitors are going to follow in the Arab bodybuilding world?
Yeah, this was my strategy from beginning, to bring this great competitor to the pro level. What they think before we have lack of knowledge about the pro. Before 6 or 7 years, the people in Middle East talking about this people is different, this people have a doctor, these people, I'm talking about the pro guys, these people have their own secrets, nobody will know it. They're talking about NASA. That's before 7 years. Now, with the knowledge I try to give these people, even to do business, it's business level. When you go to the pro, it's business. before they keep competing in an amateur competition, because they can get money from the country rather than getting their pro card to compete with the pro. And now, after maybe Isa gets his pro card and doing well in the pro, and after Ramy and what they achieve and the sponsor they get from the company who sponsored Ramy and Isa and Beto before, now the people or the competitor in the Middle East focusing to be a pro bodybuilder.
Butler, do you see more athletes seeing what Issa Obeid is achieving, seeing what Big Ramy is achieving, and now they may say to themselves, this is a better option perhaps for me than staying amateur?
Yeah, I'm in 3 years, I'm 100%, I'm sure you will get more pro from the Middle East, and not only about what they do, what they achieve in pro level. Even the media is different. What they achieve in the media, they, Isa and Ramy, been known worldwide, and this media making also big noise in Middle East about. It's not about only business, It's about also the media, and now nobody know about the amateur competitor in Middle East. Now everybody know about Ramy, everybody know about Isa, and the worldwide. That's why even the amateur competitor in Middle East wants to be in pro level to achieve better life, to be more known as worldwide.
Father, I have a question for you because Dave mentioned this earlier. Here in the United States, bodybuilding, yes, popular, but in comparison to football, basketball, baseball, hockey, it is really way behind in that regard. As far as popularity goes in the Arab world, where would you say bodybuilding rates compared to soccer and some of the more popular sports in the Middle East?
You're talking about soccer is the number one sport in Middle East, but when I'm talking about the not the ministry what they achieve, but the second, I think second sport for the guys who it's bodybuilding.
Interesting. All right, we are now going to get to what everybody tuned in to watch, and that is the discussion about Big Ramy and his corner. And of course, we have the head man, Badr Boodai, and this is the question that many people around the bodybuilding world have had ever since Big Ramy became essentially Big Ramy, and that is, who is calling the shots? Who is, in fact, deciding who is going to be the trainer? Who is actually behind the diet? So let's start with that bit right now. Badr, we're going to start with you on this one. Who is actually making the decisions as far as Big Ramy's affairs go?
Listen, I'm telling you now the story from beginning. From first competition until New York Pro, first New York Pro, I was doing the nutrition for Ramy. And Dennis saw Ramy just 3 days before New York when we arrive, and you will hear it from Ramy soon. Second, after New York Pro, we go to Olympia. My deal with Dennis is to just doing the media, introduce us to the pro level, because I know from beginning, I am businessman. I know how to introduce Ramy to the pro level. I don't need to take a long time to know this man, because I know Ramy will be Mr. Olympia soon at that time, and until New York Pro, everything goes well. After New York Pro, we decide to go to Olympia, and Dennis tell me I want to come to Kuwait to train Ramy, just to do the media. I don't know, the world watching Dennis training Ramy, and for me I don't care if people saying who trained Ramy in that time, but in the truth was I'm doing the nutrition. I am not doing because I am professional in it. It's just my hobby, and I am doing well with Ramy. And the decision was to prepare Ramy to Olympia with my nutrition and just showing as a Dennis as he's training, for business of Dennis. And after Dennis came to Kuwait, we fly to Phoenix for 3 weeks, and Rami was good before we fly to Phoenix. And from Phoenix, the thing start to happen behind me. And I'm telling you from now, what happened is from New York, first New York, as all the people in the pro level and the trainer knows Rami go down from it's the best shape. He bring it to New York, and after New York, first time of New York, he going down and struggling in the pro level. After Olympia, we go back to Kuwait, and Rami prepare next time, and he know about the fault he do with Dennis. And when we go to next New York, Rami gets sick before New York. I think 6 weeks before New York or 8 weeks before New York, he gets very sick, and he decided to go to America, USA, with that time to do some. Dennis told me some video shot or lifestyle for Rami with the GAT company who sponsor Rami that time, and we decide. I am with Rami to not compete in New York because I don't want Rami look not 100% in New York. And after he fly to New York, 2 days, the connection is cut, and from that time I know Dennis washing his brain to compete and about me, and try to do business with Rami, because if you ask me why Dennis doing like this and try to hide Rami from me, because Dennis James is a retired bodybuilder and he's 4-star bodybuilder. He's not Flex Wheeler or Ronnie Coleman or Jay Kettler. He's one of the normal guy who I call him 4-star competitor. How can I'm talking with the brain now, with the people in the pro level, how can retired bodybuilder get sponsored from 3 company? How can Sean Ray didn't get the sponsor? How can now 2-time Arnold Classic champion and the second Dexter Jackson in Olympia don't get sponsor, and Dennis James, retired bodybuilder from 3 years, get the sponsor? You understand what I mean?
Father, so let's get something on record. Let's call it for what it is. Dennis James says that months before, a while back before the first New York Pro, he had been sending you diet advice, now for your clients. Let's go on record. Is that true or not, from your perspective?
No, how he can send the diet? What that? He said, yeah, trust me, he don't know about Rami, and even he don't believe in Rami until Mr. Olympia in Kuwait amateur. And how he believe is Rami can do good in a pro level. I keep talking about Rami for Dennis 2 years before, 1 year before he become pro, and I show him some photo. And Johnny Jackson was, we are on the dinner in the FIBO, and Johnny Jackson was on Tony Freeman that time, and I show him the photo, and he told me this is bodyguard, cannot be a bodybuilder. I tell, okay, we will see in the future this guy what he do. And until Olympia, he introduced me to Lee Thompson to judge the Mr. Olympia. And I know last week he talked bad about Lee Thompson, and when he introduced Lee Thompson to judge my Mr. Olympia, he told me this is the best guy, and the knowledgeable guy who can judge the show, to be fair. And I think after Lee Thompson saw Rami in front of him in the stage, he said to Dennis how good Rami is. And that time, after all this long time, he believed in Rami, and my deal is 100%, I am sure, and Rami will say the truth later. The deal is you introduce us, and you will be front of the people, the trainer and the coaching, and because he can get more competitor to train with him, and we are the trainer, the real thing.
So to confirm, he did not give you diet advice before that period of time, before that New York Pro?
No. He send it, but we don't. He keeps sending. We don't care about what he sent. Even when arrive, try to give something Ramy, and Ramy, you can ask Ramy. Ramy throw it in the garbage.
Chris on this one. Chris, again, these are what people have said, and this is what Dennis James stated on the record as far as sending Badr diet advice. And, of course, there was that period of time before the New York Pro in which he stated that he was sending diets. Now, Badr is denying that. What do you hear?
What do I hear?
What's your take?
I mean, it's one. What do you want me to hear? It's one person's word. It's DJ saying I sent him diets, and Badr saying he never even knew DJ. I mean, that's what we have the whole show for. I mean, this is the crux of the matter. Is it's like he said, she said. You know. I mean, it's like me weighing in on it is weighing in on it with just no factual information. I mean, I have no history with DJ literally. I have no history with Badr or Ramy literally. I mean, I only just started talking with either of them in the last year, and certainly stuff like this never came up. You know, that's my take on it. I mean, I love to give my opinion and try to force it down someone's throat.
So let's go to John Romano on this. John, again, you've heard now both sides. What is your take on this?
You know, like Chris just said, you know, there's no factual evidence that has been presented to give us a concrete platform by which to form an opinion. What I can tell you is that, in my opinion, Big Ramy should be Mr. Olympia. And he could be Mr. Olympia for as long as he wants to be Mr. Olympia. Something is wrong because he's not bringing it like he should be. So either Dennis is lying, Bader's lying, or somebody's lying. All I can tell you is whoever is plying their craft on Big Ramy is not doing their job. So all I know is you have a great, tremendous, amazing potential in a bodybuilder here who's being wasted. So whoever's fault that is, I don't know. All I can tell you is what the result is. The result is the guy who should be Mr. Olympia for now and forever, how long he wants to be, is not. So all that just means to me is that somewhere along the line somebody's screwing up, and that's what we're trying to figure out.
Dave, let's go to you in studio. What is your take on what Badr just told us, and then of course what Dennis has maintained all along?
I think it has to do a little bit with what John just said. I think there's too many chefs here, and I think that maybe, you know, I always felt, and I think Chris Aceto can confirm this. Chris, when he runs a contest prep, he's the absolute monarch. It's absolute rule. There's no one else's input is important, and Chris won't operate otherwise. And I think the reason he does that is because when there's too many people giving their input, a lot of times you don't get the best results because you start getting confused and you're listening to two people at the same time and you don't get good results. And I think there might be I think John hinted at that. I think there's a little bit too much of that going on. Now, no one really knows. You know, I believe that, you know, I believe Dennis to a certain degree that he was submitting diets. Bader admitted that he was getting diets from Dennis, but he wasn't following them. So maybe the question should be to Bader, whose diet was Ramy following when Dennis was working with him?
You know, I tell you, until New York Pro, first New York Pro, he was following my diet. But in Olympia, even in Olympia, in last 3 weeks, what happened is the disaster happened in the last 3 weeks. I don't know what to do for him. Ramy told me after Olympia, and from that time, you know, to the second New York Pro, when he go to America 3 weeks before the show, Dennis take the care of Ramy. Even the second Olympia when he compete. Dennis take the authorized to train him, but not me, and even the diet. And from beginning, I told for Ramy, you're going to have a bad place in Olympia because I know Dennis and I know the experience of Dennis. And I told Ramy one thing, and he told me, I remember this word after prejudging of Olympia. I told him, you will not be smarter than the other bro in, who compete before you. You know, you have several, you have the best of the best in America. Why they don't train with Dennis if Dennis is good? Why they don't know Dennis? Why they didn't know about Dennis' knowledge? Why only you he train? Why you don't go for Chris? Why not George Farah? The big Charles Nichols? Why? Why the guys who compete is all of them with Chris or George or Chad or, you know, I don't want to name, you know, but Dennis was nobody in Mr. Olympia. And you can know about the knowledge of Dennis. Why Lionel Baiki left him? Why Johnny Jackson left him? Why Tony Freeman left him? Why he don't have another bodybuilder now? Why he keeps screaming about Ramy and watermelon and juices? I don't know, the most fruit of the world. Why he screaming? What if he's good? Why he keep crying about Ramy? Why he don't have the best of the best? He have now last Olympia 25 guys compete. Why he don't have one of them?
Again, you're watching Iron Debate on RXMuscle.com, brought to you by SciTech Nutrition and Quest Nutrition. I'm your host, Siddique Farooqi. We are joined by Boodai, the president and owner of Oxygen Gym in Kuwait. Badr, we're now going to move on to exactly what the biggest questions are regarding the last year of Big Ramy's competition prep, of his competition season. The big decision that was made was to go with George Farah. There was a brief period of time in which Ramy was working with Chris Aceto. The first question is this, and this is something we've been asked all along. Who exactly is making the decision? Is it Ramy who's making the decision? Is it you, or is there some collective decision making that goes on as you decide who Big Ramy's going to work with?
You know, I will let you. I will prove it for you. I have a team to prepare people now, to prepare the guys. Rolly Winkler trained with our team, with our crew. Isa Obeid, last 2 months, he came to Kuwait, trained with my team. Only Ramy trained with George, and this is his decision. From beginning, I told for Ramy when he came back last Olympia, he came for me after prejudging. Dennis was watching in the arena lobby to apologize and said for me exactly this word. This is my biggest fault to not listen to you to go to Dennis. And Dennis keeps saying, I force Ramy to not do cardio. I don't force Ramy to push. I take Ramy to the office to put something in his body. And Ramy is scared from me about his family. And the Egyptian is taxi driver. You know, he attack everything. I think maybe he have confused between me or Tony Montana, you know?
A Scarface reference. But again, going back to that critical decision, Badr, and that is, again, there was a period of time that Ramy was working with Chris, and then he decided he wanted to work with George Farah. So you're telling the audience that was strictly Big Ramy's decision.
Yeah. Why I don't force him to train with my team? Why he's alone with George Farah? Why is let me explain it more. When he was with Chris, he asked me, Chris confused me to compete. Maybe I'm not ready in New York. I'm going to Brazil. He was confusing. And I told him, Ramy, listen, this is business. And these people is strict on business. You say what you think and you take your decision. You will be Mr. Olympia. Nobody will, you will take the decision about winning or not winning. You choose who you are comfortable with. We go to that time when you tell me when he changed, he decide 100% from Chris to George. It's from you in the restaurant with George, and you are sitting with Siddique, Karbab Siddique, front of us. It's between each other. And I said for Ramy directly, this is George, this is Chris. You choose. I don't me after that. Don't tell me you go with this or go with this. Don't ask me. I mean, you just choose your decision. And he go talk with George, and he talk even with the, I think, Hani Rambud. And I don't know if he talked with you that time or no, but he told me, I want George. I tell her, I don't care, you know. Okay, if it's comfortable for you, you just go with George. And I'm telling you, until Arnold Brazil, I fly with even Ramy to Brazil, stay with him 1 week there, and I didn't even see his body from beginning until the stage. And you can ask George and Ramy. I didn't even want to see him. You know why? Because Ramy know my eyes connect. I don't want to let him down if I see something not good. And I say for George after Brazil, listen, if this guy come to Olympia and this condition, he will be out of top 6. And you can ask Ramy and George about it.
What did you make, Badr, just what you saw with Big Ramy now? Of course, he did not fall out of the top 6, but many questioned his conditioning. Many questioned the weight that he came in on. What was your take? And did you have any conversations with George Farah following the Olympia?
Before, you know, before Olympia, maybe 6 or 7 weeks, Ramy came for me. I think I have meeting at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. And he was sitting, you know, and asking question and like this. And I feel Ramy wants something. And I tell him, Ramy, directly, what you want? He tell me, I want you to watch my body and tell me your opinion. I tell, okay, but you already, you know, I'm telling you it straight, if it's good or not good. And I saw Ramy, I think 6 weeks or 7 weeks before Olympia. And you can ask George about it because I called George same day night. And I told for Ramy, listen, Ramy, I don't care how you trust George or Chris or not. But what I see now is the baddest Ramy ever I saw it. And I call George and I tell him, you just tell for George, you are not 100% comfortable. He told, and I think from the eyes of Ramy, he was comfortable. I told him, do you want me to talk with George? And I tell for George, listen, George, I saw Ramy today and he's in bad condition and he way back and 6 weeks. I don't care what you have. I don't care what you do for him. Just bring this guy to Olympia in shape. But I am telling you now, what I see in my eyes, maybe the photo will cheat you. I'm telling you, Ramy is way back. That's what I told him.
Chris, let's go over to you now. We're going to revisit that period of time when you were working with Ramy. Discuss what happened to the point where you were and he eventually transitioned to George Farah. Recap that situation.
Recap first and give my opinion on what Bader says. I believe him 100% because I've already had that conversation with him, and he's repeated what he just repeated now is exactly, almost word for word, cadence for cadence, period for period, dotted T's, cross T's and dotted I's from what he told me. His rendition of what he just said is in my eyes concrete, believable, right to the core. After having heard him say that again, there's nothing I can add to it, really. I mean, after having him recap what he told me verbatim, Bader's telling the truth. What else is there another part of the question? I mean, I just want to confirm, you know, that's as truthful as it gets. Right there.
This entire situation from the time that it happened and obviously all the talk, conjecture that has come out now. What is your take on the entire situation as far as Big Ramy going from Chris to George Farah?
Clearly, it was a gigantic mistake. It's right off the bat. You know, and like Dave said, you know, too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, the contest prep is, as all of us know, a very exacting science. at the level that we do it. And you have to go in knowing that rule number one, and this is what I do with my clients, rule number one is you have to listen to me and only me. And that's it. And rule number two is if you break rule number one, you have to tell me. Because what do you got to work with? So the final analysis goes back to exactly what I said the last time I commented on this, is the end result. The end result, especially for a guy like Ramy, who everybody has such high hopes for, and I'm probably one of the biggest big Ramy fans there is here. This is a guy who should be getting better every time he shows up, and he's not. And the difference this year between this year and last year is evident of the fact that he's making bad choices, and somebody needs to step in and save the day. Because if they don't, what's going to happen to him is going to be the same thing that happened to Trey Brewer and you could probably think of 5 other guys if you thought about it long enough. You know, I'm getting old and I can't think that straight anymore. But you know, these guys become flashes in the pan because they can't improve. On that level, at that kind of physique, especially at that kind of physique, you got an elephant there to work with. So if he's 316, you know, 2 weeks before the Olympia, and you radicalize his dial in, and he comes in at, you know, 296 versus another guy who's going to bring him in at 305. You talk, once again, Chris's favorite saying of mine, you're talking about a deck chair on the Titanic. So it doesn't matter. What matters is the guy comes in as absolutely the best he can possibly be. And that's going to be a matter of either he knows what he's doing or whoever he's working with knows what he's doing. And like I keep saying, the final result is what tells the story. Ramy was worse this year than last year. And that was a tremendous disappointment to not only me, but everybody else who's got high hopes for him and all of his fans. So, you know, this needs to be straightened out before it goes any further.
Let's go to Dave now in studio. Dave, again, we're talking about the situation. First of all, talking about who is actually picking the trainers, and Bother has gone on record saying that it is 100% Ramy's decision, and he is letting him go and do what he wants and work with who he's comfortable with. And, of course, we discussed the transition from Ramy briefly working with Chris over to working with George Farrell. What did you make of all this?
I think I finally understand the situation, and thanks to Bader, that is, because Bader, I believe Bader. I believe Bader 100%. You can tell when someone's telling the truth. I think that he has told Ramy, you make the decision, I'll support you, whatever decision you're making. I think the person to blame is Ramy. And I think that Ramy's very, he's a genetically gifted bodybuilder, but maybe he's a little naive to the industry. And I think George Farrell bamboozled him like he does a lot of people. He gave him the old, I will make you like The Rock, you know, talk. And because of that, he talked, you know, Ramy into leaving Chris, which was probably the best decision he's ever made in his life. And we saw, you know, what happened. You know, he came, did he win Brazil? Yeah, but he wasn't in good shape. Did he, you know, place top 6 at the Olympia? Yeah, but he wasn't in good shape. And had he been in shape, he might have won the Olympia. Did he come in better in Prague, where he came in second? Yeah, he did, but was he still in his best shape? No. So for a guy with his genetics who should be Mr. Olympia right now, it was a failure. You know, anyone else, it was tremendous. Top 6 at his first top 6 Olympia. Second, you know, beating Sean Roden and Dennis Wolf in Prague. You think, wow, the guy was a success, but he wasn't because he did not look his best. And you know what the truth might be? Maybe Ramy shouldn't be making his own decisions. Maybe he should say, hey, Botter, you took me this far. Who do you think I should be working with? Evidently, it seems to me, and we can ask Botter, it seems like he believes that Chris is the right man. I know Chris thinks he's the right man. I know John and I think he's the right man. You know, the question is, if Chris gets a hold of Ramy for a full year, what's the potential here? I'd like to know what Chris thinks.
Well, you know, when I first met Ramy, this is me. I told him, you sure you want to work with me? What that means is is when I work with someone, I give them 100%. And then if they give me 100% back, I get like addicted. And then I give them like 500%, and they can feel that vibe. And they give me like, more, and then I give them more. And then you just, you can smell blood at that point. But, the most important thing, and I told Ramy this, and I told him this from the first conversation we ever had, is that he is comfortable in every fiber of his being that he's making the right decision. Because obviously he was not working with me. He was working with someone else, whoever that may be. And to make a change is a big decision. And I wanted him to be extremely, not somewhat, but I thought he needed to be 100% on board, like I said on the last show, in his mind and in his heart with, okay, this is the right decision. And I told him, if you have any trepidation in that decision, I can't help you, because you got to be all in 100%, and then I can be in 100%. And if you're in 85%, you're going to end up looking good on stage, a good Ramy. But unfortunately, you are Ramy, and everyone wants to see the holy smokes Ramy. So that's my take on it. And Dave knows. I told him, there are other people who can help you, and they can do a good job as well. But you still have to, be committed to whoever that person is. And I went back all the way to, what was the first big show you won? He told me it was the something cup in Qatar. And I said, you looked great there. Why are you changing? Don't think that the grass is greener somewhere else. Some of this is time. You need time. You don't need a ton of time, but you need time. And whatever show he won in Qatar, I told him, those are the first pictures I saw of him, and I thought he looked fabulous there. And I said, you shouldn't jump ship on a ship that's sailing straight.
All right, so Bada, let's go back to you, and let's put you on record here. For the record, do you feel that Chris Aceto is the best man for the job to train Big Ramy and let him reach his potential?
I'm honest, and I will say it in front of all the people. Maybe yeah, maybe no.
But we're going to move on. Yeah, go on.
But I want to add something in
Sure.
the last question. Dennis saying I'm forcing Ramy to do everything what I want and what he don't want to do it. The question is, why Ramy came with the different nutrition than my team, than two guys, the Isa and Rolly. Why Rolly and Isa came in condition and Ramy didn't come in condition? If I forced Ramy to do whatever he do, why he choose his coach? And let me say, when Ramy came after us Las Vegas and he tried to hide from me even. And let's say, okay, last 6 weeks, I feel Ramy hiding from me and don't want to show me his body. I tell, okay, maybe it's if he's better for his, it's okay. I don't care, I just need Ramy come to Olympia in best condition. And I asked Ramy in airport when he was in Kuwait and I was in Las Vegas, what Ramy, what's going on? He tell me, Mr. Olympia is coming. And from that, I know Ramy brain is washed. And when I saw him second day he arrived, by mistake, I just came to Ramy to talk with him, drinking coffee in the morning. And Ramy remember this. George came on. And he go with Ramy to the toilet to see his body. And I don't go because I don't want the eyes connection between me and Ramy. To Ramy feel something bad. And George keep asking me, come better. And I came and I see his body. And Ramy remember my eyes. And after I go from the room, with our crew was the French therapist who Ramy trust 100%. I said for her, listen, now we are 2 days from Mr. Olympia. Ramy, lucky if he will be in top 5.
We're now going to move on to the next topic, and this is really after this, Badr. We have a lot of questions that we want to get answered from you. These are questions that we've been getting from our fans.
Last thing I want to say.
Yes.
Ramy, not Ramy. They try to blame George. I don't blame George. I say it for Ramy clear. You must blame yourself in the beginning because you was watching yourself, and you are now 3 years in pro bodybuilder. You was way off. It's not about loading or carbing up in the competition. Even you do wrong thing in carb up. But what Ramy show us in the stage is off season. Never been Ramy, the worst Ramy. How can you don't watch yourself 2 weeks, 1 week before? I told him exactly. Don't be the same fault of Dennis. And I'm telling you, Ramy don't cheat in his diet. And last 2 years he followed Dennis 100% when he was in USA. This year he followed George 100% and he trusts them 100%. And until 3 days before Olympia, not until, even in the press conference, he said, I will be the biggest, not only the biggest, the shreddedest guy in the stage. That's mean he's believe in his mind he was shredded. And you understand what I mean?
Yes, Badr. So let's ask this next question.
And that's between only two guys. The two guys have authorized to know each other. George Farah, who's watching Ramy, his trainer, and Ramy. I don't blame only George, the first guy who. And I told Ramy, and you remember Chris when I call you, I tell him I don't blame George only. The first guy who was blamed is Ramy. Is it true or no, Chris?
It's true, but I want to add.
I mean, I told you that in the phone call. I tell you, I don't blame George alone. I blame Ramy in the beginning.
Yes, I agreed with you and disagreed with you in
Yes.
the sense that I agreed with you and disagreed with you in the sense that if you're on the stage at the press conference and you say I'm shredded, someone is also confirming that with you. I mean, that's where the blame goes on George. George is looking at him and saying, you're peeled. And me and Dave, I told you, we did the press conference wrap-up, and I said his face looked like he's eating at Taco Bell.
George, the only guy who responds to say that for Ramy, and Ramy believe it, is George. I'm not blaming George, but this is the truth, because Ramy was following George, and George was nobody professional. Ramy, the problem with Ramy, when he believe his nutrition, he believe him as, I sorry to say that, same a God. What he say, that's mean this is right. And beginning with Dennis, he was also talking about he will win Olympia. And remember, before he fly, I will tell him, if you didn't have an injury from Dennis training, you will not be able to do top 6. Because what I see in beginning of Dennis, he listening to the interview Chris doing, or RXMuscle, or Chad Nichols, and everybody saying, if Ramy come 15 pounds lighter, he will be Mr. Olympia. And Dennis only focusing on the scale. And I'm telling Ramy, listen, we're going to Olympia. We must focusing on the shape, not the weights. This is not big fat loser. This is Mr. Olympia. It's not about the scale. But that's the problem.
So, Badr,
this 2 year, Ramy don't want to listen. This year, especially, I don't want to involve myself in Ramy preparation. And after he blame me, I'll do it 100%. He's alone. I just support him. And before Olympia, one day I tell him, listen, you get first or 15. I will support you 100% as I for your father. And why I forced Ramy? I need the trophy. I need the trophy of Mr. Olympia in Kuwait. I didn't take even 1 penny from Ramy. I didn't take even not 1% from all his contract. Then he's taking 10% from his contract. And I want to show you some paper. If I forced Ramy, this is I can put it. I don't know if you can see it. Before Olympia, 1 week, transfer money from Ramy to Dennis. How can I force Ramy to don't do cardio, and I don't force him to send money to Dennis about his contract. Who you can believe? The guy who taking money behind Ramy? That's the truth why Dennis is crazy, why Ramy left him. Because he know he will lose this money after this contract finish. But I don't care because I spend money on Ramy. I don't like to say that, but I help Ramy as my small brother or child. But this the guy who making money after Ramy, not me. You understand what I mean? I need the trophy for the Middle East, for Arab people who Dennis told him to say about us, the camel crew. He say about Mecca, about our religion, and I am asking the president of. I have message to the president of MMI, David Baker, and the president of the IFBB Pro League, Mr. Jim Mannion. Is this the right guy who can MC the best competition in the world? We fly half the world, and in that press conference and competition, 4 Muslim Arab guys, and the MC talking about his religion of 1 billion, more than 1 billion person, and 4 guys sitting there talking about his religion and about the community of Arab. Is this the best guy who introduced the best competition in the world in the pro level? This is question, this message, please. If somebody can answer, we're going to the most modern country in the world, the free country. Now after 2015, the Mr. Dennis James talking about religion and about community of Arab.
Again, to clarify, this is all about that one comment, though, right? I guess the Camel Crew comment.
The company who support, who's sponsoring the Dennis. Is this the right guy to introduce your product to the Middle East or Islam? I don't think anybody will go to buy GAT or Gorilla Wear after this. And I'm telling you something. You ask Dennis what happened 2 days before in Phoenix in the gym when the Arabs guy and Muslim guy came to his gym. What happened? Why he hide as usual?
So let's go to the next topic. Hold on a second, Dave. You wanted to chime in?
Well, I think Bader brought up some issues, and I would like to get Dennis James, response to them. I in defense of Dennis, and I'm not defending him, I think he was joking around, but it obviously was not taken as a joke by Bader and the Middle Eastern people. And obviously, race and religion is a very sensitive topic, in our world.
To come to Dennis's defense, also, this is a man who, myself as a Muslim, appreciate the fact that on his social media, be it Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, he's greeting the entire Muslim world with Eid greetings. So again, my personal defense would be that I do think he meant it as a joke. I don't know if he meant to label the entire, Arab Muslim world. Dave, you want to continue with your point?
Yeah, I don't. That's pretty much what I was saying. I don't think it was done maliciously, but if it was taken the wrong way, he should issue an apology. But like I said, I don't see Dennis as a racist or bigoted type of individual. However, I can see how you can be upset by what he said, because it was said in a derogatory sense, but also in a joking sense. Let's move on to the next.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. And again, Badr, you've labeled a lot of things, and you're very honest in saying that you do put some of the blame on Ramy himself as far as his shape, his conditioning. So here's the question. Do you feel as if, again, this is someone who's new to the sport, still learning the ropes, still learning the ways, do you think Ramy is emotionally, mentally equipped to be Mr. Olympia, understanding the dedication and just the force that it takes to win that crown? Do you think Ramy has that?
100%, not 99, 100%. Ramy genetics, Ramy body must be Mr. Olympia. Don't talk about against anybody in this stage. All of them is great bodybuilder. But what Ramy achieved in this 4 years, with all the faults, what happened? Still Ramy, everybody see Ramy is the next Mr. Olympia. Maybe next year, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years. But Ramy, if Ramy didn't be Mr. Olympia, it's Ramy fault. I'm telling you now, not anybody fault. If Ramy supposed to win Olympia from last Olympia, not if it's not last year, this year supposed to win. It's not against anything against Phil. Phil and the other competitor is great, but Ramy, in my opinion, supposed to win Olympia at least this year.
Well, brother, let me rephrase. Physically, we know Big Ramy could go on a dynasty of Mr. Olympia titles, but just mentally, as far as his maturity is concerned, do you think he has that aspect of his overall physique, and rather his overall psyche as a competitor, as an athlete? Do you think he has it mentally and emotionally to win?
You mean about the muscle maturity or what?
No.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So emotionally, as far yes.
He want to be, he believe in himself, but the problem is the decision. He's new, and what he hear about the pro level is different. Everybody say it's connection, everybody say it's politic, and Ramy hear it, even hear it from Dennis. Dennis tried to call Mr. Jim Manion and talking up front of Ramy 40 or 30 minutes. He told for Ramy, and he told for Ramy, I'm talking with Mr. Steve Wilberg 3 minutes, and I think that 30 minutes, imagine with Mr. Jim Manion. I think that time he was calling Taco Bell or Burger King and ordering, and Ramy, he don't know, he don't speak English, but he tried to show Ramy he can win Olympia by his connection.
John, let's go to you, John Romano. Do you think that Big Ramy has what it takes emotionally, mentally? Does he have this psyche build up to be Mr. Olympia?
It's a tough question for a guy to answer that doesn't really know him. But from what I've been hearing, first of all, I can tell you that Bader sounds 100% honest, and I totally believe him. What I heard from Dennis, I believe. What I hear from Farah, no one believes. So I would have to say that I don't think so. I think it sounds to me like what Ramy needs is a handler. And it sounds to me like Bader has the passion and the wherewithal to be that kind of guy who needs to stand in front of Ramy and prevent anybody else from talking to him or doing anything with him unless he gets approval. And the reason is because this guy has such tremendous potential, and what he has in physical potential, it appears that he lacks in the psychological department. And as we all know, and as Arnold has proved many times over the years, is that bodybuilding is as much psychological warfare as it is physiological warfare. And if you're not tough enough mentally, and you don't have the wherewithal mentally, you're not going to win. You're going to get psyched out, and you're going to lose before you get to the stage. So it sounds to me like Ramy needs a handler. He needs somebody to tell him what to do, who to listen to, who not to listen to, where to go, where not to go, and basically focus him in on what is necessary to do to win the Olympia. There is no reason, none, why Big Ramy should not be Mr. Olympia today. There just doesn't exist a reason. So, people will argue with me over that, and that's fine, but I believe physically you don't have a better specimen walking the face of the earth right now. He just needs to be handled correctly. And he's not being handled correctly, and if that is, from what I'm learning here today and I've learned over the last few days, it seems to be more Ramy's fault than anybody else's. So I would like to see somebody step in and handle this guy correctly and guide him in the right direction, because it appears that he does not have what it takes to be Mr. Olympia mentally. That doesn't mean that that mentally he can't handle being Mr. Olympia. It means that the aspiration is so great and the process is so complicated that few people can do it alone anymore. So I think, yeah, he's definitely got the physical aspect. He just needs to be reined in and handled properly. And if he is, I think the sky's the limit for this cat.
Let's go to Dave now. Dave, let's get the final word on this topic. Big Ramy, does he have the mental makeup, the emotional makeup to be Mr. Olympia?
You know, when we talk about people who lack maybe the mental belief in themselves to be Mr. Olympia, we think Kai Green. We've talked about this, ad infinitum, that, Kai has all the physical tools and he just seems to not be able to pull the trigger on the Olympia. Never showed up at his best. I don't think that's Ramy's situation. I think Ramy does have the mental fortitude to win the Olympia. I think he believes in himself. I think he has a good support crew. I think he's just made some bad decisions in terms of who's helping him. And I think that maybe he wasn't necessarily listening, to 100% of what the person that was helping him was telling him. Obviously, George was not the right person for him. I think with the right person, and it could or could not be Chris Aceto, whatever Ramy decides. I think when he does find the right person, he will win the Olympia. And I think he does have the mental fortitude, and he is emotionally, secure with himself. And I think he believes that he can be Mr. Olympia. And, I think we're going to see him as Mr. Olympia at some point. I think once he finally finds the right support system, as John pointed out, it's not a one-man show when you get to that level, but I think that he will be Mr. Olympia.
You're watching Iron Debate on RXMuscle.com, brought to you by SciTech Nutrition and Quest Nutrition. We are at that point of the show now. The last question, and bother, this is one that, again, it's been mentioned, it's been referenced. This is a reference that has been made regarding you for quite some time now, and we wanted to make sure that when we got you on this show, you offered some level of clarification, and that is the term Godfather of bodybuilding in the Middle East. When you think of that term in general, what does that make you think? And do you believe that you are the, quote, Godfather of bodybuilding in the Middle East?
It's not about me. The people keep calling me that, what I achieve, what I do for bodybuilding. And I think Dennis agreed in the video, and he said, I am the icon of the Middle East. I'm not talking... It's for me, the bodybuilding is hobby. I'm a businessman, and it's the most important thing for me is my business. But I want to help my community, my culture, the Arab people, the Middle East. Even I like the sport. I support Rolly Winkler. He's from Curacao, even not from our country. I like this sport. I want to introduce this sport, Middle East, to the pro level, the highest level. I believe in my people. That's what we achieve in this 3 or 4 year in a pro level, and what they the pro level and the people from the pro guys know me from beginning. But for the people who's watching want to know who's Badr Boodai, just maybe 2 or 3 years they hear about me. Even Chris, from First New York. But the Arab guys, they know before what I achieved for Kuwait, what I achieved for Middle East and amateur level. And now they believe I am the guy who can turn this situation from amateur level to the pro level. They believe in me, and they keep saying a word about me. I am thankful for these people, proud, but it's not my goal. My goal is beginning its business, and I'm doing I build my empire, and I am thanks God I'm sex man, and I'm leaving my sexes now with my act. And Dennis told in the interview last week, I know about bodybuilding before they are spelling about bodybuilding. And I'm telling Dennis, I am just 10 years and he's 25 years. You can watch what you achieve in your life, and you can achieve now what I achieve. And it's different. It's not about time. It's about the brain, and thanks God, give me the brain to achieve what I do. But I don't think I think you have lack in the brain problem. You must go fix it's genetics, Dennis. It's not about learning. Business or achievement or success is about genetics. You can live good life, but you will not be rich without genetics.
Finally, Badr, if you can shortly summarize, what do you think the future of bodybuilding is in the Middle East as you see how it's progressed over the last 10, 15, 20 years?
I'm sure it will be much better, Now the people have more knowledge to achieve their goal to be a pro bodybuilder. I'm 100% sure within the next 3 or 4 years. We have not only bodybuilder, trainer. We have, it's the whole community of sport, of bodybuilding sport is getting better in Middle East. And last 3 years, it's booming. And everybody who's the best guy in amateur now, most of them thinking about the pro level.
Interesting. Well, Badr, we definitely appreciate you coming on the show. We know you don't do a lot of media engagement, so we appreciate your time and appreciate you coming on RX Muscle for the first time.
Thank you very much, Dave and Chris, for everything. And I just hope the people or who's watching the show and the people who in this sport know about me. And sorry if I say something bad about anybody, but I am honest man. I am saying true. I know, I say about Chris, front of Chris. Maybe Ramy can be Mr. Olympia or not Mr. Olympia. Maybe yeah or no, because I am honest. I believe in Chris 100%. He's good coach. Even George Farah, because the history, Chad Nichols, these people have history. We cannot say this guy don't know anything about non-knowledgeable, because you can see their competitor what they do on the stage. And I respect what Chris do, what George do. Maybe George do big mistake with Ramy, but I respect what Chris, George, Hani Rambod, the big name, Chad Nichols before. That's what I'm talking. I'm not talking anything about these people, but I'm saying the honest, what I believe.
That is going to do it for this episode of Iron Debate. Special thanks, as always, to Chris Aceto, John Romano, Dave Palumbo, and, of course, Johnny Styles, our producer, doing a phenomenal job masterminding this show. Next week, we have a lot more planned. Tomorrow night, we actually have Diana Cadeau live right here on RXMuscle.com, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For everyone involved, I'm Siddique Farooqi. Have a good night.